So about 5 years ago, Colorado passed Amendment 64. Amendment 64 was overwhelmingly 55 to 45. They got smashed. It legalized marijuana. It legalized recreational marijuana. So it legalized recreational marijuana when medical marijuana had already been legal in the Amendment 20 in the 2000 general elections, and it won 54 to 46%. So that was in 2000, and then in 2012, Colorado and Washington State went ahead and made history. First two American states to actually get, marijuana legalized. When this first happened, the very first thing I wanted to do was, well, let's take a look at Colorado's Constitution. How were they able to do this? And they did bypass the legislature. They got a ballot initiative, and it was put on the ballot for the people to. Don't underestimate the reactionaries. So the reactionaries to the legalization of marijuana in Colorado went ahead and got Amendment 71 put on the ballot in 2016. Amendment 71 was set up as we rule, Americans need to have a say-so in the ballot initiative. This is all total bullshit. This was against the marijuana movement. So Amendment 71 says that initiative petitioners would have to spread out signature gathering efforts across every single one of the state's 35 Senate districts. And once they got enough signatures, right, it makes it more difficult to collect enough signatures. Every single district in all 35 Senate districts now has to have a petitioner. They have to get, from each one. But they also have to get 55% majority requirement for proposed constitutional amendments. So that means once you get it on the ballot, then it takes more than just majority. Numbers are a bit troubling. It's 55% to 44%. What the fuck are you guys, what is this? This is definitely pushback, okay? This is against the marijuana. This is the way that marijuana became legal in Colorado, and they are pushing it back, 55 to 45. So they made it seem like it's a rural versus urban thing. No, rural folks you're not going to get your issues on the ballot either. Nobody's going to get their issues on the ballot. And then requiring a 55% supermajority, a 55% supermajority. So that means this would have passed, and the legalization of marijuana would have passed, but the medical marijuana would have failed. Medical marijuana was 53.7%. So in 2000, medical marijuana would have failed if it had been put on the ballot because it did not get the necessary 55%. It does violate the principle of majority rule. So it's like, well, the 51% voted for you, but it wasn't 55. What? The majority wants it. November 6, 2012 is when Amendment 64 was passed. That's when the voters voted for it, but it didn't become law until January 4, 2014. So that means voters would have to wait a year and a month in order for this law to be put into place. So voters voted for it November 6, 2012, and then January 1st, 2014 is when marijuana, Colorado opened up the door for the marijuana industry and became open for business for potheads everywhere. So there was prohibition in 1917. That'd be interesting to see the reasons or how they were able to get that to begin with. Colorado Amendment 64. So the laws in Colorado, there's one for hemp. There's, laws for hemp. There's laws for medical marijuana. And then there's laws for recreational marijuana. The amendment had actually put this all under Section 18, Section Constitution of Colorado. It was drafted in 1876 and approved by Colorado voters in 1876 and took effect upon the statehood of Colorado in 1876. Okay, so 1876, big year for Colorado. Article 1 is about the boundaries. Article 2 is the Bill of Rights. Article 3 is the distribution of powers. Now, if you go to Article 18. Go to Article 18, that's miscellaneous. So under Article 18 of Colorado's Constitution, 18 down to Section 16, right? So Article 18, Section 16, and it says personal use and regulation of marijuana. So that's what the Amendment 64 did. It added another section to Colorado's Constitution. Personal use and regulation of marijuana is Article 18, Section 16. So memorize that. That's important, okay? So marked an electoral first, not only for America, but for the world. So Washington and Colorado made history November 6, 2012 with this referendum. Anybody 21 and over can use marijuana. They could cultivate it, the manufacture it, sell it. Regulating marijuana similar to alcohol, namely for recreational use. Commercial sale began January 1st, 2014 at establishments licensed under the regulatory framework. By April 2016, 62 of Colorado's 271 cities and towns and 22 of the state's 64 counties had adopted some form of recreational marijuana regulation. Notably absent from the list is the state's second most populous county and second most populous city, Colorado Springs and El Paso. So they haven't adopted it, but the state has adopted it. So I don't know. I think that there are pockets that still keep it illegal, but Pueblo, statistic 30% of all marijuana that's grown in Colorado is from Pueblo County. Pueblo County. In 2013, the commissioners adopted laws governing the recreational marijuana industry. The laws allow for the establishment of recreational marijuana grows, manufacturing, testing, and retail facilities. The county currently limits the industry to 15 retail marijuana stores, which produce more than $500,000 in taxes in the first year. So over $500,000 went to the county. In 2014, the citizens adopted a tax measure designed to fund college scholarships. In April 2016, a citizen group operating under Amendment 64's local option was threatening to bring the issue to ballot with a potential outcome. So they did try to shut it down, but that's why I think it's so. In 2016, Pueblo said, fuck you, we want marijuana, marijuana stays. So again, Hickenlooper, the governor of Colorado, still today, he's the one that saw this referendum, and he was opposed to it initially. So hold on, the county made headlines last November. This is Pueblo. Last November, not last November, but this is 2016, so 2 Novembers ago, right, when it used marijuana taxes to help fund college scholarships. And then there was a radio ad about a local ballot that aims to shut down all the recreational marijuana businesses in the county by Halloween 2017. Well, once more, so Colorado in 2012 said we want to make sure marijuana is legalized. Pueblo went ahead and jumped on board. Some of these reactionaries try to put this thing to shut it down, all of it, by Halloween 2017. So once again, the people of Pueblo, right, the Colorado voted it up, then people of Pueblo voted it up. How many times do we got to vote marijuana up before it just stays? Trying to shut the marijuana down here in Pueblo County where the Citizens for a Healthy Pueblo. Find out who the fuck these people are. They are public enemy number 2 behind Scott R. Tipton, which points to the county's crime rates and homelessness issue. Well, the homeless, and the crime. It faces an uphill battle against the better-funded group Growing Pueblo's Future, which says some 1,300 jobs and $3 million in tax revenue would evaporate if pot businesses were banned. So, you know, we won here again in Pueblo. So the legalization in Pueblo, Colorado is pretty safe, sound, and secure. Only that motherfucking attorney general, that dumb fucking elf, that small little Adolf Hitler wanna fucking be the short man Napoleon complex fucking whatever, Beauregard, fucking Jefferson, Davis, whatever that Confederate fucking. Colorado, you're allowed to possess up to an ounce if you're 21 and over. I did see some signs in Denver that said, watch out, we're going to take DNA blood samples from you, so don't drive and, you know, drink and drive, don't smoke and drive. But that's worse. That's scarier. Do I want a bunch of fascists taking people's blood, stopping motorists and taking their blood samples, or having a few people, you know, smoking pot and driving? Give me the latter, not the former. So, okay, so John Hickenlooper was opposed to the legalization of marijuana. He was against it at first. And then he gets reelected the same time that it gets established, or I don't know if it was reelected or his first election, but he was opposed to it. He gets elected the same time that the referendum had passed, and so therefore, being a good public servant, a good public steward, he does what the referendum said to do. And a little bit about the history. John Hickenlooper cautioned everybody, don't break out the Cheetos or goldfish too quickly. So he was like, you know, let us write the law here. State voters overwhelmingly approved the measure, and then Hickenlooper had basically had to enact a law that he personally disagreed with. And so when other people, he's basically, you know, sort of thrust in a situation and forced to Now, other states ask Hickenlooper about, well, if we legalize marijuana, what should we do? Massachusetts, Maine, Nevada, California, they're all asking Hickenlooper, what did you have to face? And he said the biggest problem that Colorado had was not focusing enough on the edibles. Marijuana-infused brownies, gummy candies, lollipops. There was a couple kids that were going to the hospital emergency room. They were taking too much THC. There is some data that says THC hurt Hickenlooper's problem. He didn't regulate edibles strongly enough at first, and that's what he said at the Coronado of Western Governors Association. He cited a spike in emergency rooms, right? There's also this interesting, young adults had consumed marijuana edibles, and then one shot himself, and then the other jumped off a hotel balcony. Now, marijuana doesn't do that. So, I don't know what was going on. If anything, that should have soothed their, leads to suicide. No. Some Colorado spots stated that they don't allow smoking of any kind, which is, La Junta. La Junta, it's not legal there. Others label themselves as a bud and breakfast. So it would suck. It sucks to live in another state and not live in a legal marijuana state, but it would suck to live in a legal marijuana state and still not be allowed to smoke marijuana. Some call themselves bud and breakfast, so bud and breakfast. Apparently Colorado Springs is still dry. I saw a bunch of advertisements. I don't know if it was medical marijuana, but they were, a bunch of $100 ounces in Colorado Springs. So the local cities choose to welcome shops if they want to. Durango, there's a radio ad for Aerial Pot Shop. In Denver, it's easy to find the trademark green crosses as soon as you look for them. We popped into downtown Denver's cannabis station. They didn't want to send the wrong message to kids, create public health risk, detract from Colorado's desirability, stoke the ire of the feds, but they hadn't seen a spike in teenage use. So apparently what the legalization of marijuana did in Colorado is if you were smoking marijuana, well, you kept smoking marijuana, and if you didn't smoke marijuana, well, you're still not smoking marijuana. So it didn't change it at all. Hickenlooper also points out about, it was measured 55 to 45, the ballot measure was a giant increase in people's consumption of marijuana. 55 to 45 was the numbers with the 2012 proposition, or 2012 Amendment 64. The numbers come down to 55 to 45%. Now, if you were to ask Coloradan people what they think about it, it's 60-40. So the marijuana, pro-legalization marijuana is, they're just spilling over at this point. There's something Hickenlooper says. He claims that you lose a sliver of your long-term memory if you're a teenager. Your brain's just developing and you smoke this high THC marijuana. When Hickenlooper was running, he was like, Colorado is known for many things. Marijuana should not be one of them. And so Hickenlooper and then Denver's Mayor Hancock had to implement a regulatory framework. Hancock pushed for more marijuana taxes. So neither Hickenlooper nor Hancock plans to attend any of the grand openings in their own state, which is unfortunate because whether he wants it or not, he's the face of marijuana. And he does admit that it's a political and social experiment, which has gone well. It's been successful. So 1,300 jobs here in Pueblo County, $3 million in tax revenues, how much they've, were able to get. Colorado pot retailers raked in $996 million in sales and turned over more than $135 million in taxes and fees across the state, according to the Department of Revenue. Retail sales of marijuana in the state are taxed at 10%, while the regular sales tax is 2.9%. He says it could use some tweaking. They're trying to find that sweet spot because they want to put out all the drug dealers, all the illegal marijuana dealers out of business, so they don't want to overtax it, right? Which they are. They're overtaxed.